Traveling your own unique pathway to success is challenging. And so oftentimes we need support. And usually, hopefully, you're willing to take it from wherever you can get it. Because you never know who's going to have the one thing that's going to help you figure out how to keep moving and take your next step and provide you with the strategy, systems, and confidence to move forward. Today, we're going to talk about peer support. And as we will define what that means a little bit more on episode 801 of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
I'm good. I'm from a new location that's darker than old location. Gonna have to work on the lighting a little bit.
If there is one thing that's been fairly constant for you,
I've had trouble with lighting all the way through this. Yep.
Is your lighting.
Yeah. So now I couldn't know what it was going to be like until I actually got here. And so now I know what I think I need to do to fix it. So, but I am coming to you from the penthouse.
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
You've gone from the beach to the bunker to now the penthouse. Look at you moving on up.
Beach bunker penthouse.
Oh, that's correct. I forgot.
With also before that a porch.
Correct.
Remember when we first did this? I was out in the porch in the winter.
I did.
With the heater. Those were good days.
Yes, it's funny.
But this is mine. I will be here for 30 years, God willing. That's what the mortgage company is expecting of me.
Well, they're expecting that you will pay for the next 30 years, not necessarily that you'll be there for them.
Good point. It's fair.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, good morning and welcome everyone to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where each week Bob and I have a conversation around the topic. As I mentioned in the opening, today's topic, or this week's topic, is peer support. Today, we're going to dive into what it is, because there can be real value in peer support. And as we have that conversation, we welcome your thoughts and ideas, because we know that'll have an impact on the show. And it might be a little bit different than what we have to say, and we welcome that also. If we were all just here saying the same thing, how much impact would we truly have? So whether you think this is something common that everyone should know or would know or could know, doesn't mean that they do know it or that they have heard it. So please feel free to share the value that you have as we go through the conversation. And then at the conclusion of that conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote. That thing that we hope will help you figure out when you're stuck, uncertain, or a little less confident, how to move forward and how to keep trying to achieve the goals that you desire. And we would welcome a one thing if you have it as well, because we know there might be somebody out there looking for exactly what you have to share. And if you never share it, they may never find it. And wouldn't that be a sad thing? That would not be peer support.
No, that would be reckless.
That might be a little reckless. I like how you use that. Nice.
Merry Christmas, Tom.
I appreciate that. I know how much that sort of drives you nuts. And
no, it's fine. It would be, right?
You say with a smile and a giggle, it's fine. Fine. All right. Before we dive into our conversation, though, each morning, Bob and I do celebrations. And Bob, why don't you share with everyone before you share your celebration why we do celebrations?
We celebrate because, one, I think it gets us in a frame of mind to attack whatever we're getting ready to attack, our next steps. It also gives us a chance to celebrate prior steps we've taken, because some of those steps can be difficult, some can be easy. But as we celebrate the steps we've taken versus the results, so we're not celebrating the results, we're celebrating that you took the action. So for instance, I had a client a couple months ago who was scared to death to do a sales call. and they made a call and they recorded it, and I listened to it, and it was really bad. It was just not. It was.
Were you judging them? It wasn't just a call.
Well, we're trying to be effective. It didn't achieve the results they intended. They had a lot.
You were
of
focused on the
pauses.
results.
They were reading a script. It just wasn't what they were trying to accomplish. So they were really frustrated by that. But I said, hey, why don't you celebrate the fact that you took the step to take the call? And they're like, yeah, but it didn't go very well. And I said, but you took the step. If you never took the step to make a sales call, you could never know how it would go, right? Yeah. Okay, so they took the step. So we're celebrating taking steps. And I think Tom and I have both seen with the folks we're coaching in the Renegade Success Network and elsewhere that celebrating the steps we take is a huge thing. Like, so Friday, I finally settled on a condo, and I texted Tom, or I sent him a message, and he's like, how are you going to celebrate? So this is not just words to us. This is like Tom will say to me, how are you going to celebrate? I'll say to him, how are you going to celebrate? So I celebrate this morning that I'm in my own condo, my own space. It's cavernous. It's beautiful. And I want to shout out to Lauren Marchitelli at Cummings and Company in Bel Air. She had a good time because there were some logistical issues. Danny Izzo with the title company, I think it's Black Oak Title, and Jay Walker at Meridian Bank. All three of them did heroic things to make this come to fruition in about 34 days, which is pretty quick in property acquisition land.
Nice. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm hoping you get to come to the penthouse soon and see it.
I look forward to it. I'm not sure I've been to too many penthouses.
And I get to buzz you in. Ooh, yeah. We're talking big time here. Top floor in lovely Forest Hill, Maryland. I'm 40 feet above ground.
Does that matter? You didn't have to share that with anybody.
I cannot see Central Park from here, though.
Would you really want to be in New York City?
I would. If I could change my life for 1 year and go live in New York for 1 year and then come back to exactly where I was here, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would love to live in New York. I love Times Square. One of my favorite places. I could put a chair in Times Square, sit there. I get run over 40,000 times an hour, but I just think it's so wild with all the lights and all the people and all the noise and just, Times Square is one of my favorite places. And I love the subway. I just think it's cool. You don't have to drive a car.
Well, I'm sure you could become like all the characters that are down at Times Square every day. Like the cowboy that basically has no clothes on, and all the characters.
I could be Bob the Builder.
You could be Bob the Builder. You know, those things are possible. You just have to decide that's what you truly want to do. So,
okay,
or you could just
on the list of things to do. That would be fun, though, for a week.
I thought you said for a year.
A year, yeah. I don't think I could be Bob the Builder for a year.
Okay. You could be Busy Bob. You could create your own character.
I can be Busy Bob. I am Busy Bob.
That could be that actually would be an interesting idea for like a children's book.
All right.
Talk to them about like their being a renegade and what does that look like. And
oh, I like this idea. Wow, this is good for a Monday morning. So what are you celebrating, Tom?
You know what I'm going to celebrate, which might sound a little odd. It has been interesting because as you go to Facebook, and for those who aren't on Facebook, you might not understand this, but on Facebook, you put your memories pop up. They pop up your memories of things that happened in the past. And it's interesting as this time of year, because in March is when the pandemic hit in 2020 and we started this show. And at the same time, I was doing
I'm playing with the lighting as I go. Just
I see that. For those people on the podcast who didn't know that, Bob.
And by the way, it was really hard to paint the room that I'm in to have the background and all over the weekend. I just want you to know my commitment to the show is that I got this place and painted the wall so it says Renegade Success Network. That's my commitment to you, Tom.
Okay.
I just wanted to give you a little background there. Go on.
For those of you in podcast land, though, who don't really see the image that Bob has, I think
they see the image I have. They see that.
You would understand that likely Bob hasn't painted his room. He has. Let's just leave it at that. Anyhow,
you ought to come see Tom, and then you can report the next day to people.
I will have to do that. I think that though. So back to my celebration.
Yes.
Off of Bob's lighting, it's fascinating to see some of those things pop up, and what I like about it. And this was not the intent when I did it. Seeing those lives that I did, because I think I did it for about 60 or 90 days.
I think you did 60 days was your commitment. I remember.
Yeah. And it sheds a light on the pandemic differently. I can imagine how had I been putting in my Facebook feed things like, oh, the world is shutting down, oh, how bad this is, how I miss all this, whatever, I would have a different impact on me now. And now what I see is me taking the steps to do a Facebook Live, us doing our show, things that are more about trying to move forward, and hopefully that had a little bit of peer support for others, that I feel differently than I think I would about the situation. And I think that's just a great reminder that results can change, right? At the time, even though I might have gone on there and been like, wow, there are ways to continue to move forward, I'm sure there were some thoughts in my head of like, what the heck is going to happen? And so now when I look back on it, and the memories that pop up are about moving forward. And I think that changes the way that I look at that time, at least in my life. So that's my celebration.
Yeah,
I'm glad of the step I took way back when.
And it's interesting to see all those memories come up. It is it's a very interesting period in time. I think when we have, well, you probably, not me, your grandchildren, when they're in school and they get to that grade where they talk about COVID, they'll be asking you all kinds of questions. Like, what was it like to be trapped in your house? And, were you worried that you were going to die and all those things? And it's funny, you live through these things, and every generation goes through these things.
Sure.
You have the people that went through Depression, people that went through World War II, people that went through Vietnam. And there are these defining moments. And one of the things someone said as they were going from Vietnam, because I was asking them, and they're like, you do realize that you don't realize that you're living through history. Like you don't know you're living through a big moment. You're just going through it. And I think for us, that's going to be one of those big moments.
Certainly.
Hopefully it's the last pandemic we have to go through, because
Yes.
I think the next time would be a lot harder. Knowing what we know, it would be a lot harder.
Maybe it would be easier because we've been through it before. Or it probably is not harder or easier. It'll just be different.
It would be different.
And we won't judge it. We'll just say it'll be different.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, let's dive into
Did I send you? I don't think I sent you the screen grab. I have to send you a screen grab. I got into a discussion over the weekend with someone regarding results, and I was channeling my inner Tom.
And how are they receiving it?
Haven't looked.
Okay.
No, it was they posted something, I responded, they responded, I responded, and I was just doing things. So it wasn't like a bang, bang, bang. It was more like spread over a couple of hours. So I haven't looked since yesterday.
Got it. Fair enough.
All right. We should talk about the topic, Tom. I'm excited about this one. Peer support.
All right, we'll dive in.
I've heard people say that, peers can't support you because they're always competing with you. I've heard people say that, the support I get from my peers is so critical. And I think today our goal is to explain what peer support is. So my thought is anyone who supports you in a professional sense is a peer supporting you. So for instance, I consider you in the early part of our relationship to be peer support. I would ask you about things that I was going through. We talk about various networking groups that we were trying. Hey, did this work? Did this work? How's this look? We did a lot of that kind of stuff. I think it's moved into a very close friendship over the years, which can happen. But when I think about peer support, I think of people like former employers, bosses that I had that would give me references. People that I worked with who would stay in touch, and we'd have lunch every couple of months and be like, hey, how's your work going? How's the new job? How's this? How's that? In the entrepreneurial space, I think of peers as the people I get to know at networking events, the people I get to know from the various committees and groups that I've been on the boards of, and even competitors. I was at a trade show one time early in the entrepreneurial space when I was a small business owner starting out. And they put all 4 marketing people, I was doing marketing then, in the same space at this big, like, armory place for a networking event. And the other 3 people were furious that they were all next to the other marketing people. I loved it. I found out so much really valuable information. I got to hear what they were saying to people. I heard what the questions were. It was really valuable to me. So I thought I would do it again. And they're like, oh, I'll never come back to this event. I'm like, I thought it was great. But the peer support I got there, one of the people who was so upset became a really good friend. And we started to compare notes, even though we were going after the same people. Literally 4 or 5 times there'd be a case where it's like, hey, did you pitch these guys? Yeah. Oh, I did too. How'd you do? I didn't get it. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I got it. Or vice versa. And it would be like, and then the discussion wasn't, oh, that's terrible. I hate you. It was, so tell me about how you pitched them. We never shared financial numbers. We didn't go into the math, but we would talk about what was your approach. And it was really helpful to understand their approach versus my approach. And there was one time where this guy won a bid that I didn't, informal bid. We all went in and gave them what we do. And I said to him as he explained to me how he pitched it, I'm like, dude, I would have picked you in a heartbeat. That is so much more advanced than what I was thinking. And he's like, really? And then he came to me with another proposal. He's like, hey, are you pitching this? I said, no, not at all. He's like, can I run this by you? And I gave him some feedback on it. And that to me is where peer support can be really valuable. Even though you might be competing, even though there's, it's the whole scarcity versus abundance area, right? If you believe in scarcity, then if you get $1, Tom, I can't get $1. Versus if I help you get $1, who knows? I might get $1 from you back. You might refer me to someone who gives me $5. You might give me an idea like the children's book. Who knows? You said this morning, the children's book. Maybe I go write the children's book and it becomes a bestseller. Who could know? And so it's that idea of just helping people. And I think ultimately peer support is really about supporting anyone. I see a comment from Michael. I'm going to jump in and share it. Here is my take from Michael. Business or friendship, peer support is an amazing buddy system on a roller coaster of life. You're both riding the ups and downs together, laughing and learning from each other's experiences. It's a teamwork adventure where you share your experiences and navigate challenges side by side. What I've discovered, peer support is an empowering way to tackle challenges more effectively thanks to a relationship built. The fun part is that it forces you to compete in a fun way. And I can't read past that for some reason. It stopped at that point. I guess we've never exceeded our screen length.
I don't think so. So Mike,
but I love that. And as I was reading that, I was thinking about how that's really the relationship you and I have. We have a fun adventure. There's rarely, even on the worst of days, one of us will find a way to laugh about it. Oh, here, Michael jumped in with the last sentence. The fun part is it forces you to compete in a fun way to better oneself as a team. I love that, Michael. That is like the textbook definition of a great peer support relationship. What do you say to all that, Tom?
No, I would agree. I mean, I think that I've been blessed as I look back over my professional career, um, that I've had the opportunity to have great peer support. Literally could go to every job I ever had, and I could tell you exactly the person. And I think if you went to them, they would say the same thing, is that, you know, the relationships were all over the place sometimes, and we didn't always agree. Many times not, especially in a couple of situations. Um, and yet, I think we saw that we were trying to not only help one another, but because we were at the same organization, we were trying to help the organization get better and or be different. And I think that support, and again, whatever it might have been, sometimes it was challenging, and that was intentional because it just created a different perspective with different knowledge and experience. And at other times, it was listening, providing feedback, all of those things that form the range of the value that we need at the time that we need it. And and I find it interesting because I've watched other people and I'm not sure they had the same thing. I mean, like literally could give you the names of the people at every stop that I had.
As
and
could I. Yeah.
and sometimes it was a 2-minute phone call, and other times it could have been an hour where we would be having conversations around, or longer, around just what was real for us, which was different, and how. And I think, fortunately, in all of those, everyone was open to listen. It's so often I think that, and this is the challenge with being right or wrong, is that typically we stop listening, and so we can't imagine how what the other person is saying could add any value. And I think in all of those relationships, we actually knew that the other person would have value that would be impactful for what we were trying to achieve, and that they were providing it in an effort to help, and not to necessarily change our minds, just to provide feedback that would allow us to think a little differently about whatever it was we were trying to accomplish. And I think that type of support can be extremely valuable. One, because they're kind of in your space, so they sort of have an understanding typically, and I think that's one of the things that you mentioned about having peers that could also be considered competitors, is that you have the opportunity to have a little different discussion, and sort of gain their insight and share yours, in an effort to help everyone look at things just a little bit differently.
I think it's such a critical component that when you have it, it's really an enhancer to whatever you're doing. And I think it's funny. I know a couple of people are like, "Oh, I don't talk to anyone who does what I do."
Sure.
Wow. Okay. But to me, we're all trying to learn. There's no one. If you said to me, "Bob, call this person today," whoever it is, even them, I could learn something from them today.
Sure.
And I think that's the other part of it. What it is peer support is being open to the feedback you're receiving.
Or
it's
sharing.
a two-way street, and it starts with you saying, "Hey, Tom, I'm open to what you have to say about how this program went, how I did this, how the lighting is a mess." Because you could easily after say, "Hey, dude, I don't know what your deal is, but figure out the lighting because this is ridiculous. You look like a ghost." You're not that way, but you could. And that would be support in a way. I mean, we've been doing this for 3 years and I've yet to figure out the lighting. It's about time, probably. Or to quote Lizzo, it's about damn time. See what I did there?
Yes, I saw what you did there. 2 things.
I did the second one on purpose.
I figured. I sort of thought that was the. For those of you who don't know, Bob would typically tell a joke early on in the beginning of this broadcast, not this one, but this series of broadcasts. And I think he thought that either I wouldn't get it or anyone else wouldn't get it. And so he would always end it with, see what I did there? And I'd be like, yep, I did. Got it. Thanks for the reinforcement that I wasn't certain what was going on there. And I guess that was a way of you providing support, is that you were sharing with me that, hey, that was a joke, just in case you didn't get it. And if you need me to clarify it, I will. Just want to make sure that you were clear. That's where I was headed with that.
There you have it. So do you have your one thing?
I'm formulating it a little bit. So
all right, I've got mine, and I'll go.
Okay.
I think the key when we talk about what peer support is it's the openness to allow others to give us feedback that may or may not work to our benefit or not, but just having open ears to hear it. How you choose to act on it's entirely up to you, but being open to that opportunity and also providing it. It's a two-way street, like I said. I see Michael's got another comment. I'll give you more time to think about your one thing, Tom. Michael says competition can be beneficial within peer support when it promotes personal growth and motivation while maintaining a positive and supportive atmosphere. I think, however, it is important to strike a balance between friendly competition while maintaining a nurturing environment. It can be tricky, though. And I like the idea of friendly competition and nurturing environment. I like the word nurturing in that case, because it really is trying to build both entities, I think, in a perfect world. Does that make sense, Tom? Did I lose you?
Oh, I'm here. I'm just listening.
Oh, you froze for a second.
Oh, no, I was just listening. I might have just been sitting, listening. No. So I think.
Thank you, Michael, for that. That was really helpful.
I appreciate those comments, and I think there's real value in there. And I think that as I think about peer support, I really think it's about a relationship in the truest sense of the form or the word, that where your peers value you, or you value each other, you trust each other, you are looking out to do what is in the interest of each other, and realize that sometimes that others might look at it as that you're never coming across as this is something incorrect, or this is something you're doing wrong, or this is something that it is only in an effort to help you or help them move forward. So sometimes I know that in the peer support, people have said things to me that had anyone else said it, I would have thought differently about it. And
that's a mild way of putting it.
Well, I think that that's part of it. That's part of the relationship. You know, right. I think about all of the peer support that I got. Now, there's all sorts of, so this to me is the truest sense of peer support, is when you can have a conversation that, and you're on different sides of an issue, and you can appreciate the other person's knowledge, experience, and perspective, and it likely will have an impact on you. Might not change your mind, might not change your position, might not change what you do or what you say, yet you're willing to consider it because of who's sharing it. And because you know that they are sharing it from a place of sharing what's real for them in an effort to impact where you're at. And they also understand and appreciate that you may not change, and that they're okay with that, and that people can have different opinions, and you can find value in those different opinions. Because I know that there were a number of times when and it was usually all work related, just where we had a different opinion about, or a different approach, or a different perspective around how things could or should be done, or the value of things. And yet we were able to figure that out so that it didn't impact the relationship. And I think that is, to me, when you can find that and have that.
Or when you allow it to find you. Because as I think of a lot of the peer support I have, it found me. Someone would just pull me aside and say, hey, you know, And then it would lead to, can we talk over coffee or over lunch, or can I call you later and give you some thoughts?
Right. Although what I found is that's
where it would start.
Correct. Although I think that so often, some of the times I found when people did that, it was only so they could tell me what was right or wrong. Not those who were open to a conversation around, hey, I was thinking about this. Do you mind if I share some thoughts with you?
Right.
Like, I think sometimes people think they're.
Uh-oh. You froze on me, Tom. Uh-oh. We lost Tom. Well, with that, folks, we're going to wrap up the show. It's a sign. So this has been today's Antidote. If you have a comment and you'd like to join Michael with his great comments, feel free to put them in the comment section. If you're on the podcast and you can't comment, hey, no problem, no harm, no foul. You can go to the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Sorry, Tom, we lost you there. You froze on us.
Yeah.
So I was doing the wrap up.
Okay.
May I proceed?
Yeah, of course.
So as I was saying, if you are listening to a podcast or you don't feel comfortable with sharing it on here, you can go into the Ring of Renegades Facebook. It's a private group of entrepreneurs, business leaders, all trying to take their next steps. And you can put your comments in there and have that discussion there. You'll find a lot of really welcoming people, and you might get some additional insights. Who knows? You might find a peer to support you, or you might find someone that you can support with your comments or your ideas, or your resources, or your network, or even maybe the goods or services you provide. So that's available to you. If you haven't done it already, today's the day. Today's the day to join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Lots of cool stuff going in there. You want to be there. I'm telling you, there's stuff every week. Tom and I are throwing lots of great value, aren't we?
Yes. It's just interesting.
Lots of great value. I'm just
interested in listening to you talk about it.
Well, I try to do it a little differently than you, because then people will hear it differently. Maybe someone will go, oh, that's that thing. I'm also trying to crank up the energy on a Monday morning.
That's fair. Continue.
So with that, folks, we're going to wrap up. This is the Monday edition of today's Antidote. We do this every weekday morning, somewhere around 7 a.m. I'm feeling like at least one day this week we're going to nail 7 a.m. I know next week we're going to nail 7 a.m. I know it. I know we'll get all 5 right next week. So if you're wondering why it's after 8 and you're listening to us or watching us, hey, it's your lucky day. And if you're watching this at 8 o'clock live, put a comment if you can. I'd love to see who's out at the 8 o'clock hour paying attention to us as opposed to a 7 o'clock hour, assuming anyone's paying attention to us, Tom. You never know. And you've frozen again. So, folks, thank you for being here. We will be back tomorrow morning.
Okay, everyone. Enjoy the day.
Can't hear you.
All right, we'll tell them to embrace the renegade way.
Embrace the renegade way and enjoy your day.
Yes. All right. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.